know that, you can use this book for either individual prayer or communal worship. If you wanted to do literalism, did you hear your pastor say, I reject literalism, I'm in the confessional. And somebody says, bless me, Father, I have sinned. I've used my hand to sin. And he talked about having a scalpel. If you're a literalist and it says, cut off your hand, okay. Actually, there was one guy in Matthew, there's a line in Matthew's Gospel where it talks about castrating yourself. There was one guy who did. Very famous guy. And as he looked back on it, he realized, why did I do that? I shouldn't have taken it literally. Fundamentalism is, if it ain't in here, do the best you can. If it isn't here, you got to do it. Is there anything in here that says you have to go to Mass on Sunday? You have to get married in front of the priest in Catholic Church. You have to, no. All right, then, therefore, I will do the best I can. This is a foundational book for me. But if it does not address it, this doesn't grow and continue to expand. It stays the way it was handed on to us, and we'll just do the best we can with it. Well, this is a bunch of high school kids. All right? Just as Jesus said, I can't do that. Doesn't mean it can't. Yeah, it does. It's not a history book. It's not Plato. It's not Aristotle. So if you don't do Plato or Aristotle, when you die, you're going to go to hell. That's a big thing. I did not do Plato. I go to hell. No. Right? So there are some people who, yeah, Jesus said some good stuff in there. You know that do not kill, do not lie stuff? That's good stuff. But no, you can't make me, well, yeah, I can't. Here's us. We're going to try to understand. If Jesus is going to come at a level that we're supposed to understand, we're going to try to put it into a context. Welcome to the family tree, folks. We got people in the family tree whose tempers were so bad that they beat a man to death, buried the body, and went on with life. We got people who challenged the theology of the day that said life is fair. God revealed everything. If you do what's in the book, then only good things will happen to you. Has your life experience taught you that good things happen to good people and only bad things happen to bad people? All right, so we got one guy that says, I know the whole book seems to go against this, but I disagree. I think bad things happen to good people, and I'm going to eventually sue God. Joe sues God. And I'm going to do something. I'm mad as hell, and I'm going to do something about it. We've got really mothers who, I like one kid of my twin boys, and dad likes the others. We got really dysfunctional people. You've got prostitutes. So one of the things about this is a very challenging book. God says there are no throwaway people. This guy, Moses, if it was up to us, he might be McAllister, right? And executed for taking somebody's life. And this one here, a prostitute. These are the kind of people that if they came to your church on a Sunday, would they be welcomed? Right? Isn't this a challenging? She's a prostitute. He's a murderer. He beat, what a temper. He beat a man until the man was dead. He got young kids who grew up in one of the best schools, and they had access, like Isaiah did, to the governor, and to the president, and to the head CEOs of companies. He got kids who grew up like Solomon did, and really rich, and as they got married, it was a decision. You're going to go with your faith, or you're going to go with your culture. They went with the culture. You got people like David, great guy, terrible parent. And if we're talking about one of the top 10 rules, adultery, he also should have been executed, right? We hear this all the time with athletes. A guy like Samson, he seems to have everything going for him, and he blows it all for a nice sense. Okay? Now, one of the things that's going to happen is, as we look at the old, it's going to start telling us some things about, get ready, it's going to happen again in the new. Anybody know somebody who you were given all these wonderful insights, and you blew it, you made one horrible mistake? Yeah, we're going to find people like Peter. I really blew this. Right before Jesus dies, two of his best friends. One turns him in, one denies even knowing it, right? This guy becomes like Peter. I'm so sorry, God, for what I've done. Would you give me one more chance? That's Peter. What did Judas do? What I did so bad, I'm not going to even ask for forgiveness. And you got really old men who in retirement age should be able to do whatever they want. And all of a sudden God says, plan for you. And one of the insights that this gives us is when this really old man says, God's calling me, it has an impact on his wife. So now he's got to go tell his wife, honey, put the for sale sign up. Really? Where are we going? I don't know. When will we get there? Not even sure. Holy cow, this faith journey, this is it, right? If you will, think of the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Don't share it. Just think of the worst thing that's ever happened to you. That's why we have a Bible. There's two awful, terrible things that have happened to Jewish people as a group. One was in the 30s and 40s in Europe. And one happened about 600 years before Jesus, Babylon. Okay? Books are here in this order, not because that's the order they were written. It's trying to answer a basic question for these people. How did we end up in Babylon? If we have such a powerful good God, how could such a powerful good God take his chosen people and say, you can lose a war to these pagans? It takes them about 70 years to try to figure out, is it possible to be a Hebrew? They're not Jews yet. There's 12 tribes. You would call people by the tribe they came to. Most people who return from Babylon are from the tribe of Judah. So what do you call somebody from the tribe of Judah? You call them and then eventually all 12 tribes start to pick up that name, right? All right, so why God? All right. Do you mind? I think Tony wants to hear. Anybody else know how? You know what?
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Sometimes right guys, sometimes
Go ahead, keep picking on it. Go ahead.
They're in Babylon. For 70 years, they're hearing this story that tries to explain big questions like, where did the world come from? Am I a good person? Is there a God? How many gods? No. Here's the Babylonian group. A long time ago, there are two gods. Good God, bad God. They have this huge fight. They're stabbing and hacking, and there's fluids and body parts and all this stuff is starting to come down. And planet Earth comes from the good and bad God. Can water be good and bad? Sun? The Earth? Air? Yeah. He is in some ways, spiritually, genetically, half good, half bad. That's what they're hearing, all right? 70 years later, they leave Babylon, they head back to their country, and they're trying to answer huge questions. We have no more land. The temple we used to sacrifice and keep in touch with God is gone. Is it possible to be a Hebrew? This is the answer. We are people of the book. So what's going to happen is they're going to come up with the level of the receiver. They're going to come up with how would you explain to people what happened. All right? Please don't listen to what those Babylonians said. In the beginning, God, not gods, God said. That's going to be like, what a powerful God. Right? That's going to be like, water over there, dry over here, birds flying, reptiles crawling. What a powerful God. And at the end of that story, and God looked at everything he made, said, very good. You are not half bad, half good. You are very good. All right, that's a reaction to his experience. Remember we said where his faith started with an experience. We just had an experience that rocked us to the core. Right? All right, so they're trying to do at the level of the receiver big questions. Is there a God? Yes, I'm in one. Powerful God? Very powerful. I'll show you. God said, God said, God said, God said. Holy cow, what a powerful God this is. So God made me, God made me. Am I good? You are very good. Well, we're trying to get to Babylon though, right? So what's the next step? We have two kids, both boys. This is not about biology. It's about theology. It's trying to explain how do we get to Babylon. Two boys, all right? They got two boys. God wants them in the garden. Now, we all have heard the news about Iran, Iraq. That's where it's supposed to take place. Give me an image that people would say, God wanted you guys to have a good life. Garden. In the middle of the desert, there's a garden there. At the level of the receiver. They get it. So, God says, of all this stuff, there's only one tree, don't do it. How did sin come into the world? We brought it in. Please do not start blaming God for what happened to us in Babylon. We brought